So I just wanted a little bit talk a little bit maybe about my experience with my daughter. Some of the things I struggle with as we grew together. Some of the things that I learned from her, she learned from me, and then maybe wrap it up with some tips on how you can stay engaged as a dad. Because at the end of the day, uh, the role of the father in a daughter's life, not only is it critical, but it's irreplaceable. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sergeant Squared. I'm Scott, and my trusty companion, Christy, is not able to join us today, but that's okay because I want to speak about a topic specific to us guys or as fathers out there, and really about the father-daughter relationship. Something that I'm super passionate about. So as I was thinking about coming into the studio today, I thought about, what are some things that are specific to guys or dads and as it relates to their daughter. This is one of those areas where I think probably a lot of dads are silent about, maybe a silent struggle. And I'll get into a little bit about what I mean here. So just as a preface, I have a daughter. She's actually 30 now, so we've had decades of time and experience to grow together and learn from each other. So not that I'm a wise old sage or not that I have it all figured out, but I have seen a number of things over the years with friends of mine and people that I know in different walks of life, dads who also have daughters, and there's a myriad of complexity in the relationship that is different than having a son. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So not to stereotype the father-daughter relationship or say that all fathers struggle with how to effectively connect with their daughters. I'm not saying that at all. I know a number of dads out there that do a fantastic job building relationship and growing with their daughter as they move into different seasons of life. And a number of them have been true mentors to me in my life that I've learned from. But I also know that there are a number of dads out there that struggle with how do they really connect effectively with their daughters as they grow through the seasons of life. So I'm going to make some assumptions here, but I think they're certainly backed up by experiences that I've had and experiences I've witnessed with other people that I know, friends, family, coworkers, or whatever, that are saying, hey, how can I do a better job raising my daughter to be prepared for the world? I think it's a lot of times it's it's easier when they're early in their life to connect and to be connected into their life and their interests and what they're excited about and the things that they feel that are important early on. So as a dad, and I think there's also a lot of community support available out there when the daughters are young. So what I mean by that is, whether it's preschool events or elementary school events, there's little daddy-daughter dates. There's a lot of things that I think that a lot of support and from the community and different entities when the daughters are young and haven't really identified their own personality in the sense that what are they about? What do they like? What do they like to be involved in? And so I think a lot of times as dads, we've had this, it's been easier for us to meet them where they're at, I guess. Reading them stories and just the day-to-day involvement. I think where it really becomes difficult or more of a challenge with fathers is when their daughters get into that preteen age, right? Whether it's the puberty age and they begin to change and begin to find out who they are and they begin to struggle or not say struggle, but come to terms with their femininity. Again, I think a lot of dads do a tremendous job in this area. But I also think that there's a lot of dads that kind of lose their way. So what I mean by that? Well, as a daughter begins to grow and find her uniqueness, especially when they begin to become involved in areas of interest that maybe a father isn't really aware of or knowledgeable in. So, for example, let's just say for my daughter, as she got older, we got out of t-ball, and some of the things that we did as she did as a little kid, she began to get involved in the arts, specifically dance. And while I had certainly a lot of knowledge and understanding in the things that I'm interested in, whether it be sports or the outdoors, and we could kind of invite her into that, as she began to grow and identify with other interests and things to explore. I didn't know anything about dance, anything about the arts. And so there's this sense of maybe a tipping point. It was like, how do I stay engaged with my daughter as she begins to explore other areas that I may not, as a father, have either any interest in or any experience in, or maybe even in an area where in the male stereotypes wouldn't typically find a lot of support within their groups to get involved in. Tend to have noticed and witnessed over the years that it's easier, and I don't think fathers do this intentionally by any stretch, but as your daughter grows and becomes of age, there's a lot more questions, right? Not only the biological change that a woman goes through, but just a lot of complexities with their feelings, and they're just different, obviously biologically, and I think a lot of times emotionally than a man. So, a lot of times what can happen unintentionally is the father will, by default, kind of acquiesce a little bit and allow maybe the female role model in their daughter's life to take more of a primary role, whether that be a sister or a grandmother or a mother, because it can be uncomfortable and a little bit of a maybe unfamiliar ground for dad to kind of wade into. So again, this isn't to point fingers at fathers to say that they don't know what they're doing. Not at all. I just really wanted to address something that I'm very passionate about, and something that I've witnessed over the years, is that just a lot of dads kind of struggle in this area. It's like, how do I get involved? How do I stay involved? How do I continue to be a primary impact and role model in my daughter's life as she grows in an area that I may not have firsthand experience in? So that's kind of the topic for today. So I just wanted to talk a little bit maybe about my experience with my daughter, some of the things I struggled with as we grew together, some of the things that I learned from her, she learned from me, and then maybe wrap it up with some tips on how you can stay engaged as a dad. Because at the end of the day, the role of the father in a daughter's life, not only is it critical, but it's irreplaceable. And I think sometimes fathers unintentionally don't place the importance of that involvement from day one all the way till maybe the day where they leave the house, right? So a lot of people say, you have 18 years of prime opportunity to really impact your kids' lives. And this isn't just, that's whether they're a boy or a girl. Again, today specifically about the role of fathers and their daughters. But so we have a limited amount of time to really make that impact. There's an old saying I believe in, and I've said it to my kids, I've said it to my parents, is that the amount of time that you invest in your children when they're young is directly proportional to the amount of time that they'll invest in you when you're older. And I see that true. So the more opportunity you have to be successful in building a relationship with your kids, uh, the the more dividends it's going to pay when they become adults, and the more they're going to want to spend time with you. And I've only learned more and more the importance of this as certainly I've got older. As my daughter's 30 now. She lives in a different state. Um, and I'm not saying I've done it right, but had I not had some of the encouragement of other men who've walked this road before me and implemented some of these learnings and these things that were key, I wouldn't have the relationship I have with her today, because we probably talk at least every day, every other day, and uh, it's it's not a codependent relationship. We just really enjoy each other's company. She always reaches out to me for advice and just to bounce things off of me. We're really kind of best friends, and that's just a beautiful thing. So, how can you ensure, or how can you implement some of the things in your life with your daughter now while they're young, kind of increase the chances of having that wonderful relationship, which we all want to have with our daughters as they grow. So, and in no particular order, but I think, again, we've said this in the podcast a number of times, and it's kind of a broad answer to a lot of things. It's like, what's the key thing for a successful relationship? And that's communicate, right? Oftentimes we struggle with how to meet our kids where they're at. And especially when they're younger, I think a lot of times we don't really go to them with questions, right? We're the parent, they're the child, we should know better. We're the ones that are expected to kind of lead them, provide opportunity, provide the answers, provide a safe environment. And sometimes I think we really lose sight of the fact that regardless how old or how young they are, they have input, right? They have ideas, they have opinions, and I think sometimes we, as parents, unintentionally dismiss that. So whether they're even at 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, I think it's really key to sit down and talk with them, not just imparting wisdom to them or imparting instruction, and not talking at them, but really talking with them. So that's like, it could be everything from, hey, what are some of the things that you'd like for us to do together? Or what are the things that are important to you? And this will obviously change as they grow and develop, but starting those conversations now where they understand that their opinion and their input into their life and the relationship that you have as a child parent is important. I can't overemphasize that enough. And again, at first it might feel like it's, well, what are they going to know? They're 6 or 7. What truly valuable input will they have into how I parent them? But I think you'd be surprised if you really just, as parents, really take the opportunity to sit down and say, what are they thinking? I have been surprised time and time again over the years as I've implemented that with my kids. The wisdom, said out of the mouth of babes is the old saying, but the wisdom oftentimes that they have and the insight that they have to give us is it's incredible. So I would say that to anybody is just make it a daily thing, whether it's at night when they're going to bed or maybe it's around a dinner table. Talk to them like adults, right? And include them into everything that's going on, and forget about the age. If they don't understand something, they'll ask, or they won't, but eventually they will. So just learn how to communicate with them and include them in it. Second thing is, I would say, is ask, right? Ask them how you can be a better father. And again, now we'll specifically talk. This could, certainly includes whether you have a son or a daughter, and it could be for both parents, but specific to a father-daughter, as you learn to build this relationship and learn to kind of lay out this runway, ask them what's important to them. Ask them how important their friends are into the shaping of their life. Ask them how you as a dad can be a better dad. They may not know. They may stumble through it, but that's okay. You're there to help guide them. But like, just ask, right? And the old saying that people want to, well, it's not the right saying. The saying is, seek to understand before being understood. And so oftentimes early, especially, I would say early on, but we begin to build the habit early on of trying to tell our kids what they should think or what they should know or how they should act. And so we get into this really bad habit of speaking at them, right? And we get into this bad habit of wanting them to understand where we're coming from or what we're trying to say, as opposed to really trying to understand them. So allow them to be understood before trying to get them to understand what you're saying. If it's a little bit of a semantics maybe, but if you shift the mindset to making the priority that you truly want to understand where they're at, and then from that you'll help try to help them understand how you can give them direction. It'll just make a huge difference in your growth and your development and their relationship with your daughter. So I'd say the third thing, and again, these are in no particular order, is, and we talked about this in one of our previous podcasts, is love languages. So you'll find, or certainly I found early on with my kids, that how they wanted to show love or how they wanted to show appreciation and how they wanted it to be, how they wanted to receive it, really becomes evident earlier on than I think I would initially would have thought. So for, I'd say, my daughter, it was a lot of affirmation. So the love language of affirmation, encouraging her in what she was doing, helping her understand that she had a lot to bring to the table. So once, and there's certainly a combination of love languages, but it was just, if I knew that I could always affirm her where she was doing, and just kind of be her cheerleader and always let her know that I was in her corner. I'm not saying that this participation trophy, everyone's done good. It doesn't matter. Like, give them good insight, give them good input, but make it constructive, make it something that they can build upon. And I want to digress here a little bit. The impact that we as fathers have on our daughters and the words that we say cannot be overstated. Now that's the same regardless of who you're talking to, but specific to daughters, the role of the father is I really do truly believe that the daughters begin to shape who they're going to look for as a partner in their life. If it isn't, regardless whether it's male or female, but we'll speak in the context of a male relationship, a lot of it begins to form on how they view their relationship with their father. And so if we understand that the investment that we're making now is going to help shape their understanding of how they should be treated by men, how they should be valued, how they should be respected, how they should be honored. Like, it starts with us. So take that opportunity to speak into them. Now, we're all human, right? And there's been a lot of things I've said, certainly to my daughter over the years, that I wish I could have taken back, things that may have been maybe not uplifting, more discouraging. Maybe there were times I've certainly said that out of anger, things that were probably tearing down, maybe not supportive. Again, we're all going to make mistakes, but as we learn to build disciplines in our own lives, the more that we'll be successful in the things that we say and the words that are heard by our daughters. So always take that opportunity every day to say one encouraging word, whether it's, hey, you look really pretty today, or hey, you did a great job in that today, or hey, I love how you thought about this, and something you said to me really impacted me, and I put it in practice in my life. The value of that in their lives is something that will just continue to build and build and build. These may sound like common sense, but maybe especially for maybe the women that are listening out there. But I'll tell you, a lot of times as dads, we really struggle about how to be effective in relationship with our daughters when they have a different experience, a different life than we do. So with that, I guess as you learn to be encouraging with your daughter, help her also to explore the world around her, broaden things. So there's a lot of times I think we as dads, we want to protect our daughters, right? We want to protect them from all the things that we think are out there that are trying to get them. And a lot of them are valid. And I think it's our responsibility certainly to do that, to be the primary, not only the primary protector of our daughters' hearts, but I also think we should look for opportunities to help them explore their own strengths, and maybe in a world where it could feel intimidating. So that could be everything from, it just doesn't matter. Find out what their interests are and help them to explore it in a safe way, and with boundaries that are safe. Help them to explore their own strengths and their own voice and their ability to push back, and maybe how to deal effectively in relationships where, particularly with, I think, girls at a young age can be very catty or very cutting or very mean. Like how can they be successful in that? How do you explore different ways of dealing with it? If you can be their mentor and their coach and maybe even mock play through some of that, give them these tools and these skills, it's just going to make them stronger and more successful in life. As opposed to restricting them, right? Trying to protect them from an environment, or trying to protect them from a situation, or trying to protect them from an event. It's the lack versus abundance mindset. It really does even play into this. Is the more we're going to expose them to them, create an environment where they can try different things out, and you've kind of intentionally put a safety net in there. It's just going to really help them be more confident as they grow and they get into other experiences. And certainly when the time comes where they move out of the house, when they're on their own, they'll feel much more equipped to deal with some of these challenges. Specific to, and it was a lot different when my daughter was younger, my kids were younger, certainly social media has become the mainstay today, where, back when they were younger, it was just coming on board. Cell phones were becoming more and more popular. The interaction of individuals through online and social media was gaining a lot of ground. So I know that it's an area that a lot of parents really struggle with today, because there's so much input and there's so much influence day to day through these social media channels that, I think as parents, a lot of times we can really feel overwhelmed in how to manage that. I'm not here saying that, we should keep them from all that, but I do think that there are ways that we can help them be successful in how they manage their own, not only time on social media, but how they can really protect and manage their own sense of value and self-worth when the whole world seems to be just hammering on them or hammering on everybody else. And we can certainly get into that later. And I'd love to hear your comments on maybe things that you're dealing with specifically out there. And it's just not just dads, maybe moms too, but certainly love to get your feedback on, hey, here's some of the things I'm dealing with, and what are some of the ways we can be more effective. Love to hear your thoughts and comments on that. So some of the specific to, maybe I'll give you a couple experiences with me as my daughter raised. Like I said before, she got older and she got out of like team sports. She moved into kind of the dance film. She really loved the arts, loved to dance, and she started with ballet, and then she moved into jazz and hip hop, tap. And it really began to flourish in that area because she loved it. And so it was great. Dance and the arts is certainly different than say some team sports where in a baseball field where the parents are there and there's coaches, and the ability to be involved as a parent in some extracurricular activities with the child is easier than others. So in the case of like dance, they're in a dance room. They're with their teachers. They're with other students. There's not a lot of. It's not really a spectator sport until you get to the I don't know what the word is, but till you get to the show at the end of the year, and so where all the parents come. But for a lot of times, it's an individual sport or individual involvement, and so for me specifically to this is all right. Now my daughter's involved in dance. She's involved in dance 3, 4, 5, 6 days a week. It's consuming a lot of her time, which is great, but with that comes, so the more she's involved there, the less time I'm getting with her. So, but it was really, really important for me to try to meet her where she was at and get involved as much as I could in an area where I absolutely had, and if you've ever seen me dance, you'd know this, but I mean, I had no understanding or experience in this area. Certainly from a stereotypical side, I want to say it's not something a lot of my buddies were going to go do, and so it was new ground for me. But I was committed to wanting to not only be involved in her life and understand where she was coming from, but let her know that what she was involved in, regardless of what it was, what she was interested in, was important to me. So then I thought, well, okay, well, how do we do this? Well, it just so happened that her dance group were going to have a adult class. And in this case, it was, of all the ones, it was hip hop. So I said, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to sign up. So at this point, you have to put your ego aside. You have to put what other people think aside. It was really about spending time with my daughter and being where she was at and meeting her wherever she was at. So we started the class. It was 17 moms, me, and some young Japanese guy that spoke no English. And so it was really an odd and unfamiliar space to be in. I won't say that it was a little intimidating, and a lot of things. I remember one mom when this class first started. And some of the dance rooms, they've got this window where some of the parents can watch. But his mom had the door open a little bit, and she was going to film it. And I said, "Listen, it takes a lot to be in here, so just do me a favor and just give me a little bit of time before you film this group that I'm going to be in." And she respected that. She's like, "Yeah, I get it." So we started, and I sucked, and it was hard, and it hurt, and I pulled a lot of muscles, and I did a lot of bad things, and I by no means am ever going to have a career in hip hop dancing, but to this day, my daughter still talks about the time that I took her dance class, because she was actually a co-instructor with it. It provided her the opportunity to teach me something that she knew instead of me teaching something to her that I knew, and invited me into and showing like her being able to flourish and thrive and have not only teach me something, but know that I was interested in what she was taking part in, that I valued it, even though she knew it was uncomfortable for me. That really seemed to kind of, it really did deepen our relationship in an area that was maybe a little lacking, because there was a span of time there where I was struggling about how to get involved in her life and activities that she was involved in. So, and it doesn't have to be dance. So there's a lot of things, dads out there that, see what your daughter's interested in, and figure out a way to kind of get involved. It doesn't always have to be so like up front, but if you ask your daughter and you show the genuineness of really wanting to get involved where she's at, I think you'll find an opportunity to do that. Another thing that we started doing early on, because I saw that she began to gravitate to in this case, activities which were kind of solo, and the fact that life is busy. It is. You have your family trips. You've got your family interaction day to day. But I wanted to have some times that were specific to just building and pouring into the relationship that just her and I had. And I actually did this with my son and I as well, although we have more like interest in the things that we do. But so one of the things I implemented early on was we did an annual trip. So I said, 1 week or whatever we had time for throughout the year, we were going to do something specific to just her and I. For us, it started out on an annual weekend trip to Chicago. It was things up there that she enjoyed doing. She loves the city life. I think people that know me know that that's probably not my first pick, that I'm going to go to a metropolitan area. Didn't really matter. And so we would do these trips. And not only did they become things that she would look forward to, but that we would both look forward to, and then we'd begin to plan. And we would do things that she wanted to do that she didn't maybe normally get an opportunity to. So we, outside of maybe family functions and things we did as a family, and it really began to not only deepen our time together, but it helped us reveal interests that we had together, and it helped to really open up and broaden the communication that we had. So whether it was walking on the Navy Pier, getting popcorn, Garrett's popcorn, it created an environment, a platform for her to open up to me about things that had nothing to do with the trip. Maybe things she was struggling with a friend at school, or maybe things she was struggling with as far as self-confidence. And it didn't matter. What it did was it created an opportunity. It created an environment. And so those little building blocks, they just build upon each other and build upon each other and build upon each other. So I know I've talked a lot about a lot of things, and a lot of them were broad, but I would say to any of the dads out there who are listening, who have a daughter and or daughters, and they're looking at how to get more involved and really understand their daughters more. Or maybe it's a mom out there who's listening, who sees this in their husband and knows that he's struggling. Maybe it's something you can share with him, is that you don't have to leave off, or you don't have to feel like you got to take a step back as they get older because maybe you don't understand how to meet them where they're at. Or like, don't ever feel like they're not interested in what you have to do, or they're not interested in what you do, or your activities, your interests, just because they're getting older. Although it may seem like it. If you're always leading from the front, and if you as a dad are always leaning in, if you as a dad are always looking for opportunities to meet them where they're at, regardless of whether they're 6 or 16 or 26 or 36, it doesn't matter. As long as you show that intentionality that, hey, I don't know what I'm doing all the time. I'm not sure where to start, but I do want to talk about this because it's important to me, and I know eventually it's going to be important to you. It's certainly important to us building a relationship together. So, daughter, if you will help me as your dad to get better at this, and let's make this a regular part of our life together, the rewards and the dividends that you will as a father experience or receive as you grow together are going to be worth every minute of the frustration. So again, any questions or thoughts that you might have, comments, please leave them. I'd love to open up this discussion more. I'd love to hear from more of you dads out there who may be where I'm in the situation I'm talking about, and those dads that are out there that have really felt like they've been successful and have a lot of great thoughts or ideas to share with some other dads out there that are struggling. Share them as well, and let's really make this a community conversation so that we as dads can all do a better job at raising the girls that we so love and adore and want them to be successful. So with that, I hope you have a great day, and thanks for joining, and we'll see you soon.